decimal division. Here we're going to divide 285 7/10 by 14 6/10 and round the answer to the nearest tenth. So in a division problem we have two basic parts. We have the divisor, that's the number that you're dividing by, and you have the dividend, that's the number that you're dividing into. When we do the division, we're going to set this up as a long division problem. Use the long division symbol. The dividend goes underneath, and the divisor comes in front of the long division sign. So this is 14.6 divided into 285 7/10, or 285 7/10 divided by 14.6. Now, when you divide decimals, you want to make sure that the decimal divisor is converted to a whole number. And you can do that by using powers of 10. That this division problem can also be written in fraction form as 285 7/10 over 14 6/10. And if we take that fraction and multiply it by 10 over 10, multiplying by 10 will move the decimal place one place to the right in the numerator and also in the denominator to give you an equivalent fraction, 2,857 over 146. So this division problem, 285 7/10 divided by 14.6, is equivalent to this division problem, 2,857 divided by 146. So now let's take into account that we're going to round our answer to the nearest tenth. And in order to round the answer to the nearest tenth, we have to work the division problem to two decimal places. So let's convert this 2,857 to decimal form with two decimal places. And that way we know that when we run out of digits, we're done with our division and we can either round up or round down. Okay. So to start the division, I'm dividing by 146. I'm going to take this one digit at a time. I know that 146 doesn't divide into 2, doesn't divide into 28, but it will divide into 285. It'll go in one time. So the 1 comes up right above the 5, and 1 times 146 is 146. That lines up underneath the dividend. When you subtract 285, subtract 146, you get 139. And that's our first step in division. And then you want to carry down the next digit, carry down the 7, and then repeat the division. We want to see how many times does 146 divide into 1,397. So off to the side, I'm going to do multiplication. 146 times 9 is 1,314. Okay, so my 9 is going to come up here in my answer. There it is. And 9 times 146 is 1,314. Subtract 1,397 minus 1,314 gives you 83. The next thing I see is the decimal point. That decimal point comes up. And the next digit, 0, comes down. So now I have 830 divided by 146. So if I do 146 times 5, that gives me 730. That's good. So the 5 comes up here. And 5 times 146 is 730. 730 lines up under the 830. Gives you, when you subtract, you get 100. And I still have 1 0 to carry down. I'll add on the 0. And so this will be our last division. 1000 divided by 146. Let's try 7. And if you try 7, you get 1022. That's too much. So it must be 6 times. 146 times 6 is 876. The 6 comes up here after the 5. And 6 times 146 is 876. That comes down. We don't really have to subtract because we're not going to carry on. So here's our answer. Working it out to 2 decimal places, we get 19 and 56 hundredths. And we want to round that to the nearest tenth. So rounding to 1 decimal place, that second decimal place is 5 or higher, so we round up. The 5 becomes a 6, and everything to the right drops off. You get 19.6.